This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Assistant Fire Chief Brian O'Neill, Troy Armstrong from Nevada National Guard, Mark Regan, NV Energy, Shannon Gregory with operations with NV Energy, Department Deputy Chief Carlos Hank, Las Vegas Metro, Corey Enos, the Water District, Derek Jackson, the Water District, Taylor Timms, U.S. Forest Service, Justin Hopkins, NDOT, and NHP, Kevin Honea with NHP. A couple pieces I want to emphasize. I'm just going to do a brief intro. In our current regional lead for emergency management, we're obviously coordinating related to public safety, specific to the communities up here on Mount Charleston. We are still in the assessment phase related to the infrastructure and access points. At this point, we don't have any known public safety issues related to residents. However, we are still trying to assess based on the road conditions and based on those access points. With the various partners that are here, I want to recognize each of them. They are all going to be able to field questions, but I first want to introduce Fire Chief George Gonzalez for a brief summary update.
Good afternoon, Chief George Gonzalez, Mount Charleston Fire Protection District. Sometime around last night, midnight time frame, we received a large amount of precip on the Spring Mountain Natural Recreation Area. We received large amounts of precip through the night, which prompted some flood incident in the Kyle Canyon drainage subdivision areas. 4 subdivisions have been impacted. 3 subdivisions. Echo, Old Town, and Rainbow Subdivision. Of course, also State Route 157 were all impacted due to the heavy water amounts and rain flows. We quickly activated and coordinated with the local agencies, NHP, Metro, NDOT, County Road Division, Clark County Fire Department, and all our partners and National Guard partners and Metro to quickly respond and try to provide an assessment of what's going on. At this time, right now, we're still having a hard time accessing some of the subdivisions. We don't have any reports of any structures or residents being impacted at this time. The major impacts have been to State Route 157, some of our infrastructure, the water, the power has been shut down, and some of the other issues that impacted the water flows is some of our infrastructure within the fire district, the fire station, and some of the other offices, Lundy Elementary and things like that. We're still doing an assessment and trying to gain access to some of the subdivisions. Mount Charleston Resources, in coordination with the other partners, we are trying to either escort or evacuate some of the visitors that are at the Mount Charleston cabins. We're in the process of doing that, but because of the major flows that you see off to your right over here, it's preventing us to gain access to those areas. With that, I'll open it up for some questions.
Specific to those areas you're trying to access, how many people are you guys estimating are up there?
It's hard to assess the number of. This is a summer community, a winter community, so we don't have hard numbers. We have about 450 residents up here, or structures. About half of those are full-time residents. We're estimating that about 150 to 200 residents are up here right now.
Understood. And besides the boil notice and the electricity shut off, what are the other impacts? The power being shut off, the water, the state route, and of course, we did have some impacts to the propane. Most of the canyons depending on propane, so some of the propane tanks did get impacted due to the flows. There's some damage to some propane tanks and some residents.
How long will they be without power and water?
I don't have those answers right now, but if NV Energy Partners has any information, I'll pass it on to them.
So we haven't had a chance to get into the areas to evaluate the situation. Shannon Gregory, Director of NV Energy Operations. So we're still working with the city, and the officials to gain access to the area to evaluate for damages. As of right now, it's very preliminary. I can't even quote you a time frame today. As soon as we get the information, we'd be more than happy to pass it along.
How prepared were we for this situation?
We prepared as well as we can. We have crews on standby. We have them waiting, watching. But as far as the flash floods and everything go, it's completely reactive, simply because we can't put our guys in the path of the flooding. We have to keep our people safe and then evaluate, then respond. Anything else?
My name is Corey Enos with the Las Vegas Valley Water District, and our answer is very much the same. We still don't have the ability to get in and assess safely. Once we're able to assess what the damage is, then we'll be able to make a determination, make some repairs, and then we'll put out a notice that the boil water notice has been lifted. But right now, we just don't have the ability to make an assessment.
So just to clarify, Corey, because we heard earlier that the Powell Canyon water system had damages, so you know there are damages, you just don't know what the damages are?
We don't know the severity of the damage. We know there has been damage. We don't know the severity of the damage or what it's going to take to make the repairs. As soon as we can safely do that, then that's when we'll begin to make those repairs.
Sorry for this question probably isn't for you, but for anyone who can answer, do they have landlines? How are they able to call 911 if they need to right now?
Good question. At this time, we do have some generators on backup power for some of these cell sites. NV Energy, one of our partners, has also coordinated they call it a cow on wheels, which is a cell site that operates on the back of a truck. So providing that service at this time.
Are they planning to rescue and evacuate anyone who's stuck up there?
Yes, we are in the process of doing that right now. We actually have crews engaged right now in trying to either escort those folks safely or extricate them or evacuate them as needed. We have not received any requests from any residents at this time. What we're talking about right now is only the visitors that were at the cabins, the Mount Charleston cabins. There's no injuries reported. There's no fatalities. There's no injuries to anybody at this time, which is one of our top priorities, making sure that the visitors and residents are safe in that matter. We have encouraged all the residents to stay in place until we can gain access to them, access the road, make sure we can safely extricate them and have them escorted out.
How long will the road be blocked off for? If the residents who are trying to get back inside, do we have an ETA for them?
At this time, I'll turn it over to anybody from NDOT, if anybody in here. Thank you.
Hi there, Justin Hopkins, Public Information Officer for NDOT. So right now, what we have is pretty extensive damage to a stretch of about 200 feet of State Route 157, Kyle Canyon Road. It includes some washout areas, some buckling, and things of that nature. So it's really too hard to say exactly how long that road will be closed. What we're trying to do right now is bring in some materials to both keep the flow of water away from the road and then to try to create a temporary lane. So that's our main goal right now, is to try to create one temporary lane that we can get people through with a flagger. But that damage makes that part of the road impassable. There's also some lesser damage to State Route 158. It's mostly just some rock slides and things that we'll be able to clear. But right now our main goal is getting 157 back up to at least some sort of temporary usable fashion.
Justin, is it fair to say that these roads were not prepared for the storm?
No, I don't think that's fair at all. I think that our roads are prepared for weather events, but this was an extreme fashion. This is something that was, that it would have. This is something that was unforeseen and something that took over more than we would have expected.
Are there any other roads in southern Nevada that NDOT's currently facing the same level of damage with?
As far as not so much in southern Nevada, we do have a state route up near Tonopah. I can get that information for you after this. Any other questions about roads, NDOT roads?
Can we hear from National Guard about how you guys are assisting?
Sure.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm General Armstrong, the commander of the Nevada Army National Guard. And so as of Friday evening, the governor gave us the authorization to place approximately 100 soldiers on active duty state orders. to support our first responders. So we've got 100 soldiers and about 24 high water vehicles that were pre-positioned early yesterday, and currently those are across several counties, including Clark County here. Currently up here on Mount Charleston, I believe we have about 14 personnel and 5 what we call light medium tactical vehicles, which have the higher chassis, able to navigate over some of the areas that are currently damaged. So that's our current posture and layout. Again, we're postured in some of the other counties as well. Any other questions?
I could ask, how difficult is it to evacuate people right now?
So in talking with our partners from the fire department, we're using our high water vehicles to help move people across areas that otherwise we couldn't get them across some of the damaged areas. So I don't foresee it being a problem. Those vehicles are capable of bringing personnel as well as equipment. And so right now I've got no reports that anything other than success has occurred. So we're postured across Nye County and Esmeralda County, so we have crews and vehicles up in Pahrump and Beatty and Goldfield right now.
How long do you plan to be here?
So our initial activation was for 72 hours, but we'll stay on as long as the governor authorizes it. And so we're just like our local partners, we're in support of them, and so if they need us, we'll be here for them.
So I'll take a chance on that one. So for the most part, the amount it's going to be the visitors. They just came out for overnight visits to the lodge, to the cabins, to anything like that. That we need to actually help them out with that, those logistical needs, and extricate them and evacuate them properly.
Are you concerned though with the lack of communication that residents who may need your help aren't able to get word out?
So we're working with the MV Energy, making sure that the cell towers are having backup power, the cows on wheels are operating properly, and hopefully those residents have all their cell power devices available to them. In the meantime, we're trying to gain access to all the subdivisions to make that assessment as quickly as possible. As soon as our partners with the Road Division and NDOT can grant us that access, we appreciate that work. And we'll try to make a better assessment of those subdivisions and any needs for the residents.
Any people in the Lee Canyon be affected?
At this time, we don't have no reports of issues on the roadway or any needs in Lee Canyon or Deer Creek.
The past flooding events that you've seen in the area last year, what do you think it generally means to the drought and wildfires?
Yeah. So I've been out here as the fire chief since 2008. This is the worst I've seen flooding incident up here. This flooding incident that happened last night is proportionally huge, and it's a huge number to quantify. Well, when you see the footage and you see the pictures of the water flowing through our subdivisions and our residents and our roadways and our stations, I couldn't describe it. I never seen like that. So the amount of water we got last night, it's huge.
And how do you think it affects the drought and wildfire forecast for the rest of the year? If at all?
I'm not the forecaster, but I think the conditions are favorable right now with the amount of moisture that we got in Southern Nevada with the storm.
Is there any estimate how long this runoff and just any runoff coming down the mountain is going to impact residents, fixing things, anything like that?
Yes, I did speak. I've been in communication with the National Weather Service all through the night and through the morning. They're estimating that this flow will keep on going through the evening into the night tonight. If we stop the rain today or right now, it'll keep flowing all the way until the evening. Any other questions for myself or the group?
I need Forest Service.
Forest Service.
So can you just address the closure you had and how how much you think that helped you guys, but also did that closure not affect or
Taylor Timms, U.S. Forest Service. So we enacted our closure as of Friday. We have closed down all of our developed recreation areas, trails, and dispersed areas. The cabins don't really fall under our jurisdiction, but all of our areas were evacuated as of Friday. And then our Spring Mountain National Recreation Area emergency closure order is now extended until Friday. So our priority now will just be supporting our partners.
and how many people were violating that closure over the weekend?
We just had a handful of people here and there. I know that Metro worked to get a lot of people out of our areas, which is very appreciated. But for the most part, it was just people that were unaware of the closure and how that affects them. All the effects to the infrastructure, we really haven't had to get a chance to assess that. But at this time, I would assume so. And like stated before, the emergency closure order goes through Friday. And anyone that has any reservations or any events that have been planned, it's safe to assume that they will be canceled until Friday at the very, very earliest, but probably much after that as well. We're still working through the policy. We don't know the effect of how many things got canceled, but we have contacts that are making through rec.gov, and all of the recreation.gov cancellations have the access to make their refund requests. My question is just for Deputy Chief Hank, just how is Metro assisting in all of this?
How are we doing? Carlos Hank, Deputy Chief, Las Vegas Metro. We're partnering with everyone out here, as you can see. We've also appreciate the National Guard coming out and helping us out with the vehicles. But we're just partnering with them, filling in wherever we can, ensuring the safety of our citizens that are up there, ensuring that the safety of them leaving the area as efficiently as possible, and communicating. Because I think at this time, we need to ensure that we're communicating with our partners and everyone involved in this, because this is a natural, wouldn't say a disaster, but it's as you can see, it's impacting our residents on the mountain and the tourists. So we're doing everything we can to ensure their safety.
So in closing, if no other questions, we just want to say thank you to all the cooperators. If we can pass on to our residents that if they're reaching out, we'll try to reach out to them and make a better assessment. And if they need anything, services, please dial 911. We'll try to get to them as soon as we can. And thank you to all the partners. One last note, I just want to say thank you to the Metro officers that were working last night. The Metro officers, actually, the ones that reported the start flow and alerted all their resources, and it started the chain of response and notifications. So thank you to the Metro officers. Want to thank you guys.
You've been watching Breaking News from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.